Hey, this is Brent,
Hey, this is Jordan.
What's up? This is Matt.
Hey, this is Sean.
and this is the Digital Ascent Podcast.
Hey, thanks for listening and tuning in to Digital Ascent. This is episode 0018. Today, me and the boys have a special guest with us. We're going to be talking about something a little bit different. We're going to be talking about the importance of, staying healthy and what motivates us to stay healthy. And, what are some of the challenges that we face, being in an office or an IT job, that gets in our way. But first, we're going to go ahead and start it off with some current events. The first one's been making some news in the security world. Cloudflare has seen a significant raise in DDoS attacks. Specifically, they're seeing the DDoS attacks come over HTTP as opposed to coming at the TCP layer. The reason why this is kind of interesting is these reset attacks that are happening over the application layer now. They're old attacks, the stuff that we've seen before. Everyone's kind of familiar with like what a DDoS attack is. Maybe not everyone, but most IT professionals are familiar with a DDoS attack or a distributed denial of service attack. And when you send a lot of data, that's when you send a lot of data to a machine and it can't respond to all of the information, therefore ceases to operate as expected. The reason why it's kind of interesting, though, is it's happening over a new plane of attack, right? Happening over the application layer instead. One thing that I do want to point out is that it seems to be more common in ransomware attacks now to see some of these DDoS attacks happening also. So they try to take down your business. Jordy, Brent, have you guys seen that at all, or have you guys read anything about that in the news?
I haven't heard anything about it, but this doesn't surprise me. And you just said something about the volume of kind of DDoS attacks kind of happening more and more. And that's really, I think, if I'm not mistaken, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like somebody, like a major like video game publisher or developer, just went through a DDoS attack like a couple weeks ago or something like that, right? It was some video game or something. I could be wrong. That's not the question that you asked. Anyways, I'm not tracking anything as far as CrowdStrike is concerned, but again, it don't surprise me.
Brent, anything from you, man?
Yeah, I was trying to remember because Jordan made me remember like reading an article too about somebody getting hit recently. I know I was looking at the article that you referenced here, and they said Cloudflare seeing a surge in hyper volumetric, and I was like, "What is hyper volumetric? What do they mean by that?" And I was getting ready to click in and read on that. I hadn't read that one yet, but I didn't know if you knew off the top or not.
I think it has to do with the attack over the hyperlink protocol. Was my understanding, and that's kind of like the what's new here is that they're seeing record breaking amounts of, like, it's not the amount of attacks in terms of volume and in terms of numbers of attacks. It's the volume of data being pushed during the course of the attack that's record breaking, and it's happening over and over again. It's really wild stuff.
Yeah, it is pretty wild.
We're seeing wild innovation in the attack space.
Right, and you see more and more because Cloudflare. I can't even talk. Cloudflare
yeah.
has they have that splash page that you typically see before loading into whatever it is, whatever site that you intended to go to in the first place. And I see more and more Cloudflare now, than I did a year ago even, which is pretty wild. And I know too, like, certainly they can't be the only solution for denial of service, just that sort of website protection in general. It's just, I don't know that maybe I haven't noticed other providers, or maybe they set more in the background than Cloudflare does. I don't know, but I just, like, you always see Cloudflare. I feel like that is like the norm. That's the standard.
Matt, did you only mention Cloudflare here, or was there anybody else that was like really affected, or was it just Cloudflare? I'm just reading some stuff. I'm looking at some stuff right now, and it also mentions Google and Amazon. AWS also had their stuff. They had their pockets ran. So I apologize if I spaced and you already mentioned that.
No, I had it. No, you really pulled it out. It's something that and I'm glad that you brought that up, because there's two things. This article points to Cloudflare, Cloudflare is who saw the record-breaking numbers, and they have a couple of times. From what I understand, the other providers that you talked about have not seen the same record-breaking numbers that Cloudflare was hit with. But and this is kind of where I wanted to wrap it up, is that people are seeing this more and more. If you're listening to this and you're in IT and you're in a position where you can think about incident response, disaster recovery, stuff like that, I encourage you to look at this article. I encourage you to think about how when you get ransomware attacked, that you might also get DDoS at the same time, and what can you do to mitigate that, or what can you do to offset some of that risk, something like that, or and more importantly, how can you operate when you're in a DDoS state? Keep in mind that might take down your phones these days.
Hey, right. Just really quickly, there's a quote in here from both Cloudflare and Google. Just really quick on the attack numbers. Cloudflare said that this attack was 3.5 times bigger than its previous biggest attack on record.
Yep.
And
it's
Google
wild.
said it was 7.5 times larger than its previous attack on record. There isn't specific numbers, but I just wanted to highlight that as we wrap up, this portion of current events. That's crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's really wild stuff. So they're happening, it's easier, it's happening more frequently, and it's happening in greater numbers. Everyone, keep your eyes up, keep a lookout, be planning. Plan. Seriously. All right. Next thing. Following up on an old news article from, I think it was last episode or one before. Netflix has officially rolled out their gaming. That's pretty cool. I've checked it out. You can just go to Netflix. You just go into the Netflix app on your phone and start downloading games. And, there's some decent games on there, man. 12 Minutes is on there. Reigns 3 is on there, or at least at time of recording. Oxenfree and Oxenfree 2 is on there. A bunch of little indie games. It's cool stuff. Some of it looks kind of silly.
I'm really not trying to draw the current events out today of all days specifically, but I've said it a million times before, and I'll say it a million more times. I don't understand. I guess I do understand it, but I don't know why Netflix is trying to get into games. You know what I'm saying? What is their end goal with this? What is somebody in their exec room thinks that people are going to go to Netflix to play video. I just don't understand.
Yeah.
All of the games that you listed can be played elsewhere, with better experiences. One would assume, right? When you talk about a brand new game launcher and all the bugs and issues that come with that, who is going? Oh, you know what? Let me just go play video games on Netflix. Let's.
You already you forgot the conclusion to that discussion the last time though, and I think that conclusion was, it's not for us.
Yeah, it's not. No,
we're not that demographic,
bro. Think about it. It's like Amazon Prime, and I'm not kidding. It's like Amazon Prime. You buy Amazon Prime, but sure, now I get Prime Music, and maybe I don't invest in Google Music, and Prime for the cost of not, or Amazon for the cost of not very much, has denied Google a sale, and so I think that. I kind of feel like Netflix is picking up where GameFly left off, and this is the beginning. And just because these are stupid little indie games, I shouldn't call them that. Some of these are great games. They're not stupid
12 minutes
little
is a banger.
That's a banger. I know. I said it. Yeah, I was wrong. Look, I was wrong. Okay, I said it. I was wrong. I immediately retracted my statement. All right, I get it. And I did. I was wrong. Okay, we don't even have to cut it. I'll just admit that I was wrong. But this is just the beginning. What about when they start, they're trying to compete in the space that, some of these other game companies are, PlayStation, with their little system, and Xbox Game Pass, and, Ubisoft's got theirs, and blah, 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 blah. I say, let them compete, man, and see what they have. And, maybe if I can just have another way to, cloud game, and, maybe they deny Apple a sale for Apple One. I don't know.
Man, as far as Netflix is concerned, just throwing in on top of their news, bullet point for this month, but I've heard rumors in the video game space in the last 2 weeks that Well, number one, this is not a rumor, but they're working on, Ubisoft is working on an Assassin's Creed title specifically for Netflix. So that's moving
What?
along. Absolutely. They announced probably 6 or 7 months ago, they announced like 4 or 5 Assassin's Creed games at once. It was this year's Assassin's Creed games for the major, platforms that they normally launch on, but then also like a mobile one for Netflix, a VR space, like a whole bunch of different things. So Netflix is getting one of those. But then I also heard a rumor that they are in talks with Rockstar right now to try and get like a license for the GTA series so that they could, maybe Rockstar, they could pay Rockstar some money to make a specific title exclusive to whatever this new Netflix platform is. So Matt, I really appreciate the
Okay.
GameFly reference that you made, because maybe this is just going to be the digital version of that. I'm sure this is news as well. This month, Netflix shipped its last DVD like shipment. They've gone away from the physical, media as far as the movie queues that you could have once upon a time when they launched. So the last one was shipped earlier this month. They're doing away with that, so it'll be interesting to see how they work through this this new kind of Xbox Game Pass ish model. Don't want to draw this out too much. Just wanted to. I mean, Netflix is hot right now. They're really pushing heavy for the video game space, which I imagine is to probably make up for the losses they go through making their own movies and renting out other licenses and all that stuff. So hope it works out for them. Hope they don't blockbuster themselves.
Got him. I do want to wrap it up with one little final note, and that is that there is just a metric ton of little games that sync up with their show lineups. So if you liked I think it was The Circle or Love Is Blind or whatever reality TV show you're really into, they got a game for that, so you can play along with the little Love Is Blind situation.
Shameless, man.
Hey, no, it's not. It's not shameless. It's effective vertical marketing material that is continually engaging eyeballs and building value.
Yeah, for sure. I get it. I like to poke.
That's
fun,
some good. That's good corpo speak, ain't it? It's not so bad.
It is, man. Netflix needs you on the board. You know what I mean?
Yeah, get me out there. I'll go. I'll go tell them what's up. I'll go sell for them. All right. Next one, last one, and then we're gonna get down to the meat and potatoes here. ChatGPT has just rolled out DALL-E 3 into the platform, directly into it. If you remember from previous episodes, we talked about ChatGPT, the little chat bot that was released by OpenAI. And then we talked about DALL-E 2, which was the bot that can take text and turn it into visual images that you can go test out for free. And you still can just by searching for it on Google and signing up with the little account or whatever. But now you can do DALL-E 3 in ChatGPT. And I mean, I encourage you guys to open up the show notes, go check out that link. Some of those pictures are amazing, just beautiful.
Yeah, it does really well. And they said that I was reading that particular article, and they were saying, and I saw evidence of it in the gallery, but in terms of handling facial features and handling text has always been kind of a
text has been a serious problem. It's been a problem, man. It outright doesn't work in a lot of cases.
Like this one here, you can just simply feed it like, I want a banner or something that says X, great. Y, and Z, and it just does it. And it looks beautiful. Nice. Yeah, I mean, it's like generating like logos for websites, logos for businesses. It's pretty cool.
It's amazing.
And I mean, it's making, I'm like, well, man, maybe I want to do ChatGPT Plus for a change, because
same here.
I was subscribing to the Midjourney thing. I've talked about it in the past, and that was $10 a month for like the basic tier. But why, I'm looking at it as, well, why would I do that when I can do 20 and get access to GPT version 4 of the chat, the OpenAI model, and then DALL-E 3 on top of it? That makes it, the value proposition is way higher with them bundling DALL-E 3 in there.
Yeah, it's really fantastic. So, this is, to me, this is still amazing. I feel like we're just still in the beginning of an AI revolution that we're seeing just barely start to come about, right? We're still, we're not even in the first year of when it got released. I don't think so. Maybe it was September. Maybe it was September.
We probably hit that year mark, I thought.
Yeah, no? I think we did. I think we did it. Maybe I think it was September. Maybe it was November. The point is that we haven't even seen the first decade of this stuff.
Yes, sir.
That's right. That's crazy to think about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. We haven't even seen 5 years of this. This is wow. Most businesses haven't even figured out how to go beyond. Well, this is interesting. We need to figure out how to get it into our business, but we're not really sure how to do that. And even if we did, there's still a bunch of challenges and, whatever. So, all right, guys, I lied. I have one more thing that I wanted to talk about. It looks like the Activision and Xbox acquisition actually succeeded and wasn't blocked. Yeah. Jordy, do you want to tell me about it, brother?
Yeah, just real quick. So the acquisition went through earlier this month. I want to say maybe the second week of October. Third week of October at the latest. And yeah, it closed out. Unfortunately, there was no major celebration, similar to how they, announced the Bethesda, acquisition had closed. They had, re-released, practically all of the Bethesda library on Game Pass, with all of the, new bells and whistles, 4K upscaling and, enhanced for Series X consoles or, PC, just kind of bringing those older games into the newer, the modern era, I guess, of gaming. So the big one takeaway, I guess, from this acquisition, we're not going to see any games anytime soon from Xbox. I think part of I think Phil Spencer, was quoted saying, "Hey, look, we got so caught up in the weeds with trying to ensure that, the court stuff was handled, with specificity. We didn't even really start, work on any of the old Activision, libraries or titles or anything like that until just before it was announced." So I think as he was doing those interviews, he was, doing some visits, really around the globe because Activision has studios everywhere, Blizzard and King. So he was going and visiting them, but it'll probably be a couple years before we see anything, first party come out of those studios outside of whatever they have planned already, for the foreseeable future. But we should start to see those Game Pass games start trickling in. I think they said mid-year this upcoming year. So by 2024, they should have some new stuff out there. And hopefully, as far as the next 10 years is concerned, we'll start to see Xbox really, pick it up and punch above their weight class with some of the talent that they have just accrued. If not, that'd be a giant waste of $70 billion. So really excited to see what they get up to as they transition into, I guess the next era of the gaming space, which is apparently supposed to be mobile focused, right? So that's it. That's the spiel. Just wanted to close the loop on it, of course, since we've covered this at great depths before. So yeah, just wanted to close the loop. The acquisition is said and done, so we can all get back to our normal nerdy gaming lives. Yeah.
I'm so excited about this, everyone. As everyone knows, I'm just a giant fan of this situation, and I'm super huge fan, and I just can't wait to see the glories it will bring the gaming space now that there's even less competition. Hey, there's some more investment though. So what do you want to do? I don't know. All right. God. Frustrating. All right. All right. On to the main topic. So I wanted to talk about this was a topic I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about the importance of like staying healthy. And I wanted to talk about it because over my career in IT, before IT, I was a server. I was a waiter, and I was on my feet all the time. And I was under 200 pounds. I'm like 5'9", or sorry, I'm like 5'11". So, I was under 200 pounds. I was in I was in decent shape. And then I took a desk job, and very quickly, I was no longer under 200 pounds. And over the last decade and a half, it's been one of those things where I've noticed it's just really easy to put on weight when you're not, walking for like 6 hours, 6 hours a day, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, obviously weight challenges is something that, America faces, and, I just felt like it'd be a good thing to talk about, right? I feel like it's a good thing to kind of bring up, and talk about every once in a while and just kind of bring it to the forefront. Um, so I want to start off just by talking about a few things about why are we here? Why is it important to me personally? For me personally, um, I want to make sure that I can still, keep up with my kids and travel when I'm older. I want to make sure that, um, I can still do the things that I need to do for my career. In this case for me, it may just be like I need to be able to sit up and work for 8 or 9 hours a day, and that may not seem like a big deal, but I have some lower back injuries, and um, I've noticed that when I'm heavier, that they're exacerbated, and that when they're exacerbated, um, it can make it hard to sit there for 8 hours a day, and so I don't know. I just felt like it would be a good topic. And with that, I kind of want to open the floor to Brent and Jordy for a moment before we introduce our professional that we wanted to bring on. And see what you guys, what do you guys have to say about all that? Do you guys have, things like what are your goals and why do you think it's important, or however you want to phrase all that?
Brent, you want to hop in here? You mind if I slide next? What do you think, sir?
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, perfect. So, Matt, I'm first and foremost. I know this is kind of like we're patting ourselves on the back here, but
Yeah.
I this topic this is totally Matt's idea, and we spent a lot of not a whole lot of time, but more time than we normally do for prep for this episode, just to make sure that the right message comes across, which is we're not here to fat shame, we're not here to point the finger at anybody
Mm-hmm.
and tell anybody they're
Mm-hmm.
wrong. Our our big point here, the goal here is just to hey, speak on it. You know what I mean? Statistically, people who are working desk jobs who also work high stress jobs are going to tend to be overweight and more on the unhealthy side than I think some of us are willing to admit. I think for me personally, getting out of the army, it was my weight was one thing that I thought, I'll never get out of control. Like I've got a life's worth of, experience. I know what I got to do to keep the weight off. I want to stay in good shape, and this will never be a problem for me, right? Well, come to find out years later, even being in the military and getting out, like my relationship, not just with my weight, but like eating, working out, it wasn't necessarily healthy. So, it was more of, I was kind of, you got the saying, you dangle the carrot or you get the stick, right? And I thought that, as I approached weightlifting or fitness or just a healthier lifestyle as a whole, that I was kind of dangling that carrot in front of myself, which was, hey man, if you just stay in shape, you stay healthy, you'll be here for the long haul, you'll be okay. And that was that was supposed to be the push for me, or the motive to get myself into the gym and just kind of watch what I was eating. And I think I've come to find out, in the last 2 years that that mindset that I'm just kind of getting out of now, was really, I was giving myself the stick, right? It was like a threat. Like if because that's how the military treats it, at least in my
Mm-hmm.
MOS and my job, and I'm very excited or looking forward to getting to hear from our professional today on, their thoughts on, everything I'm kind of working through right now. But all this to say, sometimes I think, we think we're giving ourselves or telling ourselves, what we need to hear to get ourselves into the gym to lose whatever weight. And really, this battle is as much as a mental, battle as it is a physical battle, right? So I just wasn't being really nice to myself, and that contributed negatively to a lot of the journey that I've had over the last 5 years, we'll say. And I wasted a lot of my own time simply because my mindset was just not in the right place, right? So I don't know if that makes sense. I feel like I'm kind of rambling, but this is really important to me because I feel like a lot of people are in the same place. They think that, oh, if I fast for 18 hours, I'll be pretty and I'll be okay. I won't have to, you know what I mean? And really,
Mm-hmm.
they're just taking the long way around to staying at the exact same spot that they're at. Because at the end of the day, this all just comes back to, how do I create a new new may be too far, but a new kind of lifestyle that is sustainable, right? That'll get me what I want, but I also won't want to pull my hair out, you know what I mean, or jump off a bridge 3 weeks into whatever this new fad is, right? So I just think there's a giant misconception, and one that I've fallen into. It's one that friends and family of mine have fallen into, and so I think Matt hit the nail right on the head. Of this is I think weight struggles or issues, just being generally healthy, are things that we in our industry, not only IT, but people just with desk jobs. These are things that we struggle with, right? So I'm glad to be talking about it. Matt brought this up, and I hope that we can make some sense, not ramble like I just did for 3 minutes. So that's my spiel.
Jordy, for the record, wish we were on camera. My mom is over here nodding along quite a bit to
Awesome.
what you're saying.
Thank
Yeah,
God.
no. So what you're saying here is my interpretation is that it's all stuff that she's heard before, and yeah, she's saying
I love that.
It is, yeah,
cool, good deal.
Brent, do you wanna chat? Then we'll go ahead and introduce my mom and let her speak to why she's an authority on these subjects.
Yeah, just real quick. I mean, I think I mirror a lot of what you said specifically. In terms of, one, not only do I want to keep up with my kids, but I want to be around for a long time.
Right.
So that I can see my kids grow up, and I can see my daughters, potentially get married and have, grandkids, and then keep up with the grandkids on top of it. Like, I don't want to be just crippled in old age because I just completely, tore my body apart. I didn't take care of myself. So, that's a big thing. And then, of course, you thinking about retirement and settling down with, your spouse and all that, and being able to go and do things, enjoy retirement. I mean, you got to be healthy to do that. So, and then, a lot of us too, I'm one of them. And Matt, I know you like to play your video games on the side, and so does Jordan. A lot of the times, not only are we sitting around for an 8-hour work day, but then we're moving right on over to the couch or staying at the computer and playing video games on top of it. So
I'm not playing Beat Saber, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah. We're not doing Beat Saber and Dance Dance Revolution and all these things, or Just Dance, where we're like getting up and active. We're at this point, we're like, this is therapy. We're relaxing on the couch
right?
and that's how we wind down. So, I'm not out shooting hoops in the neighborhood, basketball court. I'm not, my hobbies are not entirely physical. So I'm battling the war on two fronts. So yeah, all that to say, yeah, I want to be around to see my kids grow up, and I want to be around for grandkids.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you for, speaking candidly. I know that this stuff, sometimes it's hard to speak candidly about. So thank you, coming on and speaking candidly about that. Okay. So with all that in mind, I want to introduce my mom, Karen Barton. She was trained by the Navy, and I'm going to let her go over her work history with you and, what type of training she's had, and I'll let you, so that way you can decide whether you feel like she's an authority on these subjects. So, Mom, please introduce yourself.
Hi. Thank you guys for having me tonight. I'm going to tell you that around 2000 is when I started my journey in fitness. The Navy hired me to run a wellness center for them. And I hold certifications from Cooper's Institute, which is down in Texas. Their whole institute is dedicated to healthy, well-being lifestyles. I also hold AFA certificates with the American Fitness Aerobics Association. And within that, I hold specific certifications as far as spinning and muscle conditioning and bodybuilding, things like that. I also, one of my jobs, which I absolutely loved, is I was a trainer for the CFLs, and that is the certified or the command fitness leaders training, and I taught them how to train their troops in probably what was the best way, and I gave them all the nutritional information and all the exercises that they could do in a safe manner. Let's see what else is. And the other thing I'll say also about the military is they spent thousands of dollars educating me. Every year I was at conference or at certain kind of trainings. I worked with mostly active duty personnel. Most of my clients in there were probably in the 30 to 40 age range that I did. Um, my house, my wellness center was also what they considered the last house on the block. So sailors that were getting ready to get booted out of the Navy because of their weight, they would send them to me. And I would give them all the information they needed in order to make that lifestyle change. And since I can't control other people's behavior, I gave them the information. It was theirs to do with what they wanted to do. And a lot of them got with the program. I'll say that. We had a lot of successes out of there. The other thing I did with the active duties, and one thing that I'm really proud of, is that I designed a mobile van, which I filled with all kinds of equipments like medicine balls and TRXs and Bosa balls and hurdles, things like that. And I set up circuits so that I could go out to their spaces and I could train about 200 people at a time like that. And the only thing we didn't do with them was running, jumping jacks, and stretching, just static stretching. Because it's my belief that you need to have a good, strong core in order to avoid less or have less injuries, rather.
I'm a fan of that. I personally really like to work the core when I work out. You know, as I mentioned earlier, I have I have some back injuries, so I know that I feel like when I'm actively working my core, it definitely feels like it's my back hurts less. This is part of what drove me into like my own personal fitness journey. This time around, I say this time around because I start and I stop and I start and I stop. It's hard to stay going, right? Now I noticed, Mom, one of the things that you brought up is that you noticed you said a lifestyle change. I feel like maybe Jordy said something about a fad earlier. Do you kind of want to talk about lifestyle changes versus fad diets and their effectiveness and just like
Please.
the big
Yes.
Yeah, big picture, man. Help us out here. What should we be doing from top level view?
Okay, well, just as a beginning, I will tell you that fad diets don't work. They are meant to relieve your pocketbook at billions of dollars a year, and they put lots of money into it. Most of them Most of them will be telling you to only eat certain foods. A lot of diets will tell you to cut all carbohydrates because they think that bread and starch is the enemy. It is not. I'm here to tell you. Um, and one of the things I'll mention is that one of my favorite things that ever happened to me is a person who had been sent back to my office because they'd regained their weight said to me, I'm going to go on the Atkins diet again because it worked so well the first time, right? First time, we want it to be permanent lifestyle change in your life, something that you can control and something that you're willing to do.
Do you feel like you have to like a lifestyle change sounds like a lot. Do you feel like you have to make like huge changes all at once if you want to be successful, or do I have to start working out every day if I no matter what, if I want to be successful, or at like an hour and a half a day or anything like that, or is it something where I can start small and build up, or like what should how should I approach those problems?
You absolutely do not have to start out exercising out an hour and a half a day. Um, Exercise is accumulative. So you can do 5 minutes at a time if you want. You could do that 6 times a day or 10 times a day, and you will have an accumulation of cardio exercise at the end of the day. For people that are specifically that are sitting at their desks that are having a hard time finding time to get up and just go to lunch, let alone exercise during the day, you can do small things to start, like just bringing your knees up to your chest or up to your waist as high as you could get. Anytime you add an arm pull over your head and bring it down, it's going to raise your heart rate,
Hmm.
which is what you want. The whole thing is about calories in and calories out. The cardio is what's going to burn your calories. So I'm talking about walking. I'm talking about elliptical. I'm talking about just squats, which is
Hmm.
not aerobic, but it's all going to help you do. And you have to do a little bit at a time until you're ready to take on more, if you want to take on more.
Do you do you have to do cardio, or can you can I do like like functional strength training or weightlifting or, things like that?
Well, that's two different things.
Okay.
You're going to have a little cardio in there
Okay.
because that's what burns your calories the most. It's kind of interesting because your cardio will burn your calories quickly, and your muscle conditioning will burn the calories longer.
Okay.
So I'd like to see them go hand in hand, a little bit of both. But if you want to lose more serious weight, you're going to have to do some cardio. And like I said, it can be one of the things I've always suggested to people is that if you're not having an exercise program at all right now, the first thing you can do is start to park your car at the furthest spot you can from the grocery store or from any place. Walk yourself in, get the cart, go shopping, load your groceries, and then return the cart to the place.
Yeah, that's a good way to just get like a little bit in there. I don't know about other people working in IT, but I am busy. My mom said for people who can't go up to get up to go to lunch, and I was like, oh, you must have a view into my day. I'm just kidding. I of course always take all of my federally mandated breaks, and I have it at all of my jobs, of course. And I'm sure that that everybody here has as well. So yeah, it's hard, right? It's hard. Yeah. It's hard to get up from your desk, especially when you get a lot of emergencies and things like that. So you said that, if you're sitting at your desk, you can just try, lifting your legs up, basically.
You can basically try lifting your legs up. You can use, if you're not doing any kind of muscle conditioning right now, you can use your desk with your hands on it to do squats.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, a little modified squat.
You do not have to have equipment at home. You can get an empty gallon jug of milk and put water in it to the level at which you want to do weight conditioning with your arms, with your biceps and your triceps. You can use cans in your house that you've stocked up and use those to keep your muscles strong in the beginning. They'll probably be light, but if you're not doing anything, light is better than nothing.
I feel like I probably still have some cans stocked up from when COVID happened, and that maybe I could even use for something like that.
So I've got a question in here. I'm gonna hop in here, and Miss Barton kind of point. I want to kind of feed on or build off of some of the experience that you so graciously listed for us at the beginning of this segment. But working with the military, you and I've literally before. This won't be a mystery or a surprise to anybody, but I was active duty for 4 years, did a year in the National Guard, and so I'm very, very, very in line or aware of the military's the fitness regiment and what we're doing for soldiers that aren't necessarily missing the mark, or in your case, sailors. I wanted to ask. Normally by the time we've got, on the Army side, so I would assume that this is the same for the Navy as well. You said you were essentially positioned as the last house on the block, right? So please correct me if I'm wrong. In our case, normally before we're sending a soldier to go, speak to a master trainer or, some your position who, has all of the book smarts, and now we just need that. We need that knowledge to kind of be passed on from the big master themselves. It was anywhere between, 8 months to 12 months. Sometimes we're seeing the limit or the time frame before we're sending them out to you guys is probably a little bit longer. Sometimes the performance on their side is wavering. There's a million different reasons. So I really want to, the question here is, what is your your thought process or your approach to breaking this cycle that these soldiers or sellers or service members in general are in? Do you have any tips on how getting yourself out of, I'm going to call it like this weight gain hole, right, where maybe you feel like you're being super adamant or aware of the choices that you're making, and it's just not cutting it, right? What were some approaches that you took as these service members are getting to you, the last house on the block? Does that question make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect.
I ran another program for the Navy called Ship Shape, and that's when the guys that got mandated over to me would have to see me for 2 months, once a week. for 2 months. And I would try to train them, especially on their nutritional eating. Why are you eating? What time are you eating?
Perfect.
And what is behind that? One of the tools I gave them, and I'm just using this as an example, is the program MyFitnessPal. Works really well. Um, when they were with me, I had them write it down. Basically the same thing that FitnessPal does for you. You had to write it down every day, because a lot of times people, and I used to tell them this, that you're never going to remember if you walked by my office and grabbed a piece of chocolate, and a lot of times too, people have no concept of how many calories they're actually eating.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, I just had a small hamburger today. Well, let's look at that. Let's look at that hamburger. How much green food are you eating?
Yep.
Things like that. That's going to give you a lot of information just from that. So I gave them those tools like that. And then I trained them also in exercises that I thought that they could accomplish to start with, or that they liked, which is even more important. Is finding something you like and doing it, whether that's taking a walk, whether that's, going to the gym, getting on the elliptical if you have bad knees, whether that's setting up a place in your home that you can do a little bit of exercise every day. Is really a matter of how much time you're willing to commit to doing it. And the question is, how do we get out of that? How do we get out of our rut? An interesting thing happens, at least this is what I noticed over my years of the training, is that once people start to have some success, they get excited and they want more success. So once you've lost maybe a pound or two, your mind's going to go, oh, maybe this is going to work, for me. The other thing that really helps, and I wanted to make note of it, is music. What music motivates you to move? And that's a really important thing to look at.
I know I found that it helps me when I work out. There's definitely certain music that I found to be more effective for me personally.
There's also one other thing that Ms. Barton, you hit on, which it was like a light bulb in my brain. And I remember probably the first quarter, the first 3 months after I've been on my current, track for probably close to 2 years now. I'm about down 70 pounds. I'm on the way back up now. I'm trying to gain a little bit more weight and build out some muscle. But I think the first thing that I recognized in that first quarter was, holy crap, I can't believe how much I'm like consuming calorie wise, right? Like you mentioned the hamburger thing of, oh, I just had a hamburger today. Well, you surprised how many calories are in all of the things that we consume today, right? Like, a hamburger easy could run you 600 to 800 calories, like no problem, right? So, in my mind, I wasn't, thinking anything of this of, oh, I'm only eating twice a day. But if the two meals I'm eating are both 15 to 1800 calories a pop, and I'm not working out or moving from my desk, and just kind of like Brent mentioned, I'm sitting at my desk for 8 hours, and I'm going and still staying sedentary because I'm playing video games or I'm chilling on the couch, or I don't even have kids, just hanging out. And so you would be very surprised. And I think that was probably the biggest thing that me on the track that I'm on right now to kind of get that propelled of. Step number one for me was getting into that habit of tracking literally everything that I ate, whether it was 15 calories or 500 calories. It was going in my app. Purely so that I could get into that habit of just being conscious of what am I eating, when am I eating, is this stress related, am I actually hungry, am I bored, what's going on? So just wanted to spend a minute on that. It's, if our listener can't kind of figure out the theme that we're that Ms. Barton is kind of putting down right now, is number one, it's consistency and starting off real small, right? So I appreciate the message and the tone so far. I think Matt, I think we're doing exactly what your plan was from the jump. So yeah, good stuff, ma'am.
One thing I'd like to point out just on that is just, I use the hamburger as an example, but that doesn't mean you can't eat hamburger. Okay.
Absolutely.
You can eat hamburger at home. You can have it on buns. You want to look for maybe the 92% fat-free hamburger. Is it a little more expensive? Yeah, it is. But your health is probably worth it on that. And I know money can be an issue sometimes. And it's just like people like to cut out carbohydrates and bread. The truth of the matter is that carbohydrates are your main fuel source, right? So, but we're talking about instead of eating your hamburger on a white bun, get yourself a nice wheat bun or a multi-grain bun that's going to be a little more healthy for you. Instead of eating white rice, let's try brown rice or purple rice out there instead. So it's not about cutting out all the foods you love. You know, there's foods you want to have your go-to is such as fruit and vegetables or your lean meats. And we want to sometimes eat a dessert. That may be a choice for you to eat. For me, myself, I had a weight problem when I was growing up, and I have to really be careful of my eating desserts because I'm addicted to it. And once I get one bite of chocolate in my mouth, it's over.
You and me both on that one.
I just wanted to offer my own personal 2 cents on the tracking of calories. It's a pain. It can be a pain to track calories,
Total pain,
especially at first. But you know, this year I started tracking calories, and the first thing I realized is, oh my God, I'm eating so many calories.
Dude, right? No, it's crazy.
Bro, I started adding it up. You know, it was like I started tracking calories. I immediately was able to start, you know, trying to hit that goal. You know, I identified a goal. I started trying to hit it. And what I found is that, you know, sometimes I was eating 2,000 more calories than what my daily goal was.
Absolutely.
And that sometimes I was doing it 7 times a week. And like, you're right. And like, not every week, but some weeks I was. And,
yeah,
you know, I kind of looked back at the last 6 months from where I just put on like 60 pounds and I went, that's probably exactly how that happened. And, you know, it was really amazing to me to begin to understand that I was eating like I didn't think I was going so hard, but I was eating double what my calorie allotment was.
Yes, sir, man.
My weight loss goal.
Yep.
And yeah, it's crazy. You know, and I've for the record, I've read some posts online, and anecdotally what I've seen people kind of say is that you know, portion size in America is crazy. And you know, it's so easy. Like, you basically, in fact, something I've noticed that if you go out to eat, you're basically gonna eat 1,000 calories if you eat your entire portion.
Heard.
Yep,
now, because I'm not going to a place pay $40 for a salad. Like, that's not happening. You know what I mean? If I'm going to a steakhouse, I'm eating a steakhouse, or I'm eating.
My mom is shaking her head with emphasis over here about she going, you can definitely, she's right, you can do it, but I'm with Jordy. If I go to a steakhouse, I'm gonna get
no salads over here, partner. Yeah, that's
no, I don't want it. I want a T. I'm gonna get the T-bone.
Oh, okay. I just want to stop it.
She goes, I just want to punch you in the face, guys. Right. Why are you talking like this?
There's a difference. There's a big difference between a portion and a serving. Okay. A serving is set down, and if you look at the nutritional labels on your boxes or anything else, it's going to tell you what the serving is. Let's say I go to get out and get spaghetti, right? They are giving you on your plate probably 4 to 5 times over what the serving size is for that thing. So so that's how you add up your calories, is by eating that entire plate of spaghetti. When in fact, a lot of times what I'll do is I will order my meal and I will order my to-go box right then. And I'm putting it in there to take with me. And I know Matt's shaking his head.
It's because I keep on meaning to do it and then forgetting. So I'm shaking my head at myself because I'm mad at myself.
Right. So
and I've heard of people doing that. Yep.
Yeah, you have to be careful about the portion size versus the serving size. And granted, it's, if you're just starting down this nutritional journey, you might be in shock at what you see, because a serving size for a meal for a piece of meat is about the size of my palm, right?
She got small hands, guys. This is not good. It's not.
I'm imagining
that's
small
not good news for me.
Yeah.
Nah, my mom is a petite lady, so that's a small palm, everybody.
Right, but you can eat a lot of green food. Well, you don't like green food, so how are we going to solve that? Would be the next question. Can you maybe introduce maybe just one vegetable in that you haven't tried? Maybe there's something out there and you're going to say, well, I hate Brussels sprouts. I'm not going to eat them. And if you haven't tried them, they're actually pretty good. And if in fact you still don't want to eat Brussels sprouts, what can you put in their place? What sounds good to you? Broccoli, green beans, whatever you want from there.
Brent, we haven't heard much from you, man. You got any questions for the expert?
I mean, a lot of what you guys have talked on is, I mean, it's right with some of the questions I was going to ask. Because I know she touched on, kind of some of the stuff you can do at your desk and stuff like that, kind of the modified squat and all that. I know for me specifically, my Apple Watch, I have it set to where it'll pop up and tell me, hey, it's time to stand. Yeah. And I use that opportunity to not only stand, but I also, either I'll use that opportunity to go like have a bathroom break or something like that. So I'm walking around anyway. So I'm a little bit more than just standing. But I also have an adjustable weight next to my desk. And I'll just do, some modified sets of whatever. I'm standing up with it. I might do some squats with it and stuff like that. So that makes it handy. And something we've done recently, and we've done this on and off, but in talking to like the portions and stuff like that, portion control and serving control. We also there's a service. This is not an ad, but there's a lot of services like this. But Factor 75 is one we've used before, and they essentially just send you pre-made meals that you just throw in the microwave. Sir. So it's a time saver. It's a portion thing, and it's just healthy because they have like preset diets when you're selecting your meals every week. You can be like, hey, I want carb friendly. I want high protein, whatever. They've got categories for a lot of different stuff. And they're actually really good. Most of them are very, very good. Really good meat, really good green selection and stuff like that. Good spices and good seasoning and all that. And it's just easy. It's also, even though they're typically more expensive than if you went to the grocery store and kind of put these things together yourself, you're also cutting out the cooking time. You're cutting out the prep time. It's convenient because you just pull it out of the fridge and throw it in the microwave sort of deal. But for me, I was going to comment too earlier when you guys were talking about that portion control again and the serving control. I was brought up to clear my plate. Like that's just how I was brought up as a kid. And that has like transpired into my adulthood for the most part. And like when I'm sitting down at like the table at a restaurant, I'm going to clear my plate. Like I'm going to demolish what's in front of me.
It's muscle memory.
Right. Like I'm scraping it clean at the end of it where, and a lot of times other people, and I've gotten better about this. A lot of times now I'm like, I'm going to save half for, lunch tomorrow or something like that. Whatever. It's just like, it's preset in my mind now. I'm going to eat half of this. The other half's going in the box. Kind of like you were saying, go ahead and get the box to begin with. That way you're out of sight, out of mind sort of situation. So yeah, I mean, a lot of this, I've been down the road. I've done a little bit of keto and stuff in the past, which I did have a lot of success on keto, but for me, keto wasn't sustainable long term, and I think a lot of people struggle with that. I love bread.
Yeah.
So like, and just like your mom said, like instead of eating white bread, we get like the multi-grain. I think it's made by Arnold or something like that, but it's like super, super heavy and like the grain and stuff. Like you can see the seeds and stuff in the bread. Like it's just super hearty bread, but it's so much better. And I mean, it's high in fiber, it's high in protein. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm on board with a lot of this. I guess my only question, would be, are there any, tools or ergonomic adjustments, anything like that for us who are sitting at the desk? I know just as a few examples that I've seen in the past, a lot of people get those little little pedal things that you can put under the desk. It's like a little cycle. yeah, stuff like that. Do you recommend anything like that, or are there any other things that maybe we haven't thought about or haven't seen that makes sense to kind of like set at our desk? That is just something like we can do while we're idle, like while we're working, we can be doing that as well, almost like subconsciously.
Well, there are definitely options for that out there if that's what you want to do. A lot of those things I think are made for people that are recovering from injury.
Right.
But if you've got bad knees and it's hard for you to walk, definitely get something like that, because that's not going to hurt you. Um, the thing I was going to mention, and you started that, was that gadgets really work. So many of your watches, I know my husband's watch and Matthew's watch, they're very fancy watches, and it'll track his heart rate, it'll track his sleeping, it'll track what he's doing during the day. It'll even track your calories as long as you put in all the right protocols and are honest about them.
Right.
When you put those in there, that kind of thing works too. Um, yeah. So I mean, I'm more of a fan of doing things on my own because it takes. I want to. I don't want to say it takes more work, but if I get up and walk in place or knees in place, I'm going to automatically work my core a little bit more because I'm going to have to keep that balance, which is why I recommend doing something like that um, for sure. But yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Answer your question. All right.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
we're getting a little long on time, so I want to do a quick summary of things. First, I should have mentioned it earlier, but I do want to remind people, none of us are doctors. And so none of this is medical advice. You should always talk to your doctor before starting a diet and your new exercise program or anything like that. So please do not hear this and you go run 10 miles tomorrow. Honestly, I'm not a doctor, but I'm pretty sure you're going to injure yourself if you do that. So if you haven't been running, do not instantly go run 10 miles because we encouraged you to get healthy or whatever. Go talk to your doctor first.
And this doesn't really need to be drawn out anymore, Matt.
No,
you hit the nail on the head. But this episode being what it is, and me being who I am, look, who would I be if I didn't add unnecessary, context to people's comments, right? So I just want to throw out here that just like mental health, man, if you're really to really like solid shot and it's just not working out for you, or you're finding a bind where that you just can't get past, or a threshold more rather, you're just like mental health. Maybe it is something that actually requires that professional, third party, involvement. There mental health we speak on. Somebody mentioned this to me, a mentor mentioned this probably about a year ago. I was working through terrible time mentally, and just didn't know it. It was part of the, hey, this is normal, right? This is my new normal. I'm straight. And this individual had thrown out, hey Jordan, look, you're working through X, you're working through Y, you're working through Z, you're doing this, you're doing that. Maybe this isn't something you can solve on your own, right? Like maybe it's a chemical imbalance. Maybe there are things that you actually need, that third party for, that your friends or your family or me or whoever else just can't, maybe this isn't something you can do on your own. And there's no shame in that, right? If you're at the end of the day, if you're giving it a jolly good try, you're giving it 110% effort, and things aren't the way that you think they should be, go speak to a professional. Go talk to your doctor, see what's going on, and have them, point you in the right direction. But Matt, that was perfect. I didn't need to add on there, but that for me, that comment from this individual was really like the stick that broke the camel's back for me of, oh, maybe it's not me. Maybe there's something else that I need. Maybe I need to be on meds. Maybe I need a therapist or a psychiatrist, more than I think I do, right? So not trying to get deep, throw myself under the bus, but that's what I needed to kind of kick me into high gear for my mental stuff, right? And it was something similar for the physical stuff as well. So
cool.
Great reminder, great recommendation, Matt. I appreciate you.
Man, that was good. Also, thank you for sharing that. It can be hard to share some of those really personal details, but I really hope that, like, if you're listening to this, I hope that you I hope that your takeaway is that we're sharing these personal details because we want to show you that, like, it means something to us, and this is why it means something to us. Like, we're we're trying to share ourselves here, in hopes that it'll help you also, because we think we have something to share, or I don't know. So I do want to go into some wrapping up. I do want to do some high level stuff. I guess, Mom, just hop in here at any point if I say something extra stupid. I don't think I will. Okay. Hey, would it be the first time she was like, "Stop talking, Matt"? All right. So, number one, top level view, big picture, calories in, calories out. That's if you really want to make adjustments. You use that stop.
No.
She put her hand up.
I'm putting her hand up because I want to put a number on it.
Okay.
And that is, if you're looking at calories, the general rule is 500 calories less in and 500 calories more out.
So there you go. It's 1,000 calorie differential. That usually means.
Hey, look, I got another. I'm going to slide in here again, Matt. I'm so sorry because I know we're trying to wrap up.
Yeah, we are, but here we are.
Calorie it is the best piece of advice that I never listened to, before 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's
money.
If
the calories.
And seriously,
this is it, guys.
Force yourself into tracking what you're eating, and you can maintain that 500 calories. I mean, that's where I started, and that's where I had to hold it for probably the first 2 or 3 months. It may have been a little bit longer than that. And then very specific goals after that, I kicked it up to about 1,000 calories. And it was difficult, but it was not as impossible. And I think my errors or my issues the first couple times that I tried to do this over the last couple years, they didn't last very long because I was starting at that 1,000 calorie deficit or that 1,500 calorie deficit off rip, and it was like,
it's hard,
yeah,
man.
it's difficult,
hard,
especially when you're not realizing how much you are intaking. And so I didn't even really get into following macros or paying attention to my macros, before probably 6 weeks ago. The better half of the last 18 months, I've eaten whatever I wanted as long as I maintained that caloric deficit. Now, that may not be the same for you. There may be some other, it's not a one size fits all for everybody. There may be some different health things that affect you specifically, but
Yeah,
hey, I feel like we just covered that. Go talk to your doctor if things aren't working out. I don't want to generalize here, but I'll say, to generalize, I feel like most people should be able to get by with this caloric deficit thing. If you can start off with 5 calories and less than what you're outputting, you should be okay. You just have to maintain that, and you also have to make sure that you're being true to yourself as far as tracking what you're eating. And you got to make sure that is accurate as accurate can be, so that you know where you fall and you know what work you have to put or what you don't have to put in, right? Whatever.
Yep.
I just have one last thing to add because somebody brought it up here, or I heard somebody say it. Not eating your food during the day is not a good idea. So waiting all day to eat your dinner is not gonna be good for you, because one, you're not gonna feel good, and second, you're never gonna lose weight by skipping meals. And the reason is because when your body can't get that fuel source, it doesn't have anything to eat. It's gonna start eating your muscle tissue eventually.
Yes, ma'am. Which I learned the hard way.
Yeah. So it doesn't have to be big meals. I'm saying that you could put in some fruit in the morning, something like that. Just whatever makes you happy, but try to keep food in your body, healthier food.
Yeah. I thank you for adding that. So, big picture, calories in, calories out. Your body's a machine. When you pour fuel into it, it stores it, unlike a car. When you pour fuel into a car and you put in too much, it just spills onto the ground and you have a fire hazard. When you pour too much fuel into a human body, it's around for later, because you never know when you're going to need more fuel. So number one, calorie in, calorie out. I have found this to be like the number one thing for me also. And I've lost like 50 pounds in the past 9 months. That is what I focused on. Number two is, you should really be adding some sort of exercise. You can't get away from it if you really want to be successful in this. Now, that exercise can be, I parked at the far end of the parking lot. I went for a 10-minute walk. I raised my legs 10 times, for 10 reps, and then I repeated that for a total of 3 times, right? I mean, it's just, you got to start somewhere. And I initially started my like exercise goal, or sorry, my exercise journey like 3 years ago. As COVID hit, and I found myself with working from home, and I had a little bit more time in the day, so I started exercising. And um, that like back then, I took me like 20 minutes to get around, about a mile and a quarter. That's how long my loop is that I can walk comfortably. It took me like 20 minutes, 18, 20 minutes. And I was hoofing some of it, but it was like a lot of heavy breathing and hard stuff. And I was like really pushing. And now I can do that same thing in like 12 to 13 or 12 to 15 minutes, depending on my day. And I'm usually not really dying too much at the end of it, depending on, where that final hill was and how I went, or whether I went left or went right type of thing. The point is that it gets easier. So you just got to start somewhere, and then eventually you will get somewhere else, but you got to start somewhere. And so start small if you got to. And I would say, the other thing that I found really personally helpful is that I view this as like a long-term war, and you don't have to win every single battle. Like, you can have days where you go over your calorie count. And in my opinion, I mean, this is just Matt's opinions, you can have days where you can, not exercise or, phone it in or whatever. And I found that truly accepting that I was looking for a lifestyle change, and that part of a lifestyle change is that I'm not gonna, like, I can't do it every day because the life is too messy. And truly accepting that, and understanding that I was working a long-term war over the course of like 50 years, and that, all I had to worry about was finishing my battle for the day, or I don't know, I wasn't going to do it. I found that to be a very liberating thing also. So, once again, it's calories in, calories out. Try to do a little bit of exercise. And then, try to do a little bit of exercise. And then I can't remember the last thing that I was just talking about. The goals. So yeah. All right. And then the last thing we're going to do here is we're going to set some goals. Is that good? Are you guys good with that? Brent and Jordy, you good with goals?
I'm all for it. Let's do it.
All right, cool. All right. Done with the rambling, down to goals. We're going to take this. We're going to put these in the show notes. So, I guess you guys need to like write down your goals somewhere as you do it. I'm going to make yeah, put them in the show notes. Put it in the little Discord chat, guys.
Yeah,
so
throw it in that Discord
throw it in
section.
Discord.
Yep.
So, I'll go first. My current goal is I want to get, over the course of the next year, I want to get down to 190 to 200 pounds. And then I want to maintain that weight. Ideally, I will hit that goal prior to like when I started this last year. So I would like to see myself lose somewhere around 30 pounds in like the next like 5-6 months. And then I would like to maintain that weight as well. And based on my track record, I think it's feasible, but I'm probably gonna have to I'm gonna have to try. So I'm gonna put that in there. Jordy, Brent, who wants to sign up for the pain next?
You want to hop in there?
I'll jump in.
Perfect. Brent's got it.
So I was, for the longest time, I had a goal of 260. Because I've always been heavy. I mean, for a long time, I was over 300 pounds. So my new goal that I've been working at for a while now, with the help of a nutritionist and just figuring out some stuff there, is I think what we decided on anyways was around the 240 mark. I've had a hard time breaking the 260 mark. I'm at the 260 mark now, but I can never get past that threshold for some reason. So I think that's what I want to do over the course of, I'm going to go a little bit further out. I'm going to say over the course of the next, probably 6 to 12 months. So next half year to a year, I'd love to get down to as close to that 240 mark as possible and maintain that, how I also did, the whole 260 thing. And I've been able to maintain that over the past year. So I think that's my next stop there. And I think that would make a big difference in my life. That 20 pounds. Man.
That 20 pounds makes it.
Yeah.
I almost dropped an F-bomb, but it makes a big difference, Brent.
It makes a huge difference, man. Like it really, really does. And that's been one of the other things that I've kind of noticed over the past year is the huge amount of difference that like in the way that I feel when I'm just moving around the house and stuff after dropping that weight that I did this year. It feels different.
Absolutely.
Jordy,
Absolutely.
what you got, brother? What is
Okay.
your goal? Your goal? Are you going up with your weight? Because it sounds like you was trying to put on that muscle, sir.
Yeah, hey, look, so I'm
You look like a strong man.
Okay, I've got two goals
Arnold Schwarzenegger or something.
Okay. So I've dropped a bunch of weight. Okay, I in 2021 August was when I started this current track that I'm on. I've been weightlifting on and off for about 10 years. I've always been on the heavier side. I've probably been 200 for the better half of the last 10 years. Body fat has drastically changed or dipped and risen, if you will, at different occasions. But right now I'm sitting pretty at about 235, just about 16% body fat. I am the biggest that I've ever been muscle wise. I feel like the strongest that I've ever been, and I'm feeling good, right? I just found out earlier this week, or maybe a couple days ago, around this time last year, I was at about 228, and I was at about 17.5% body fat. And right now I'm at 235 at 16%, just a little bit over 6. I've gained weight. I've gained 10 pounds. I think at the lowest part of my track, I was about 220. That was about 3-4 months ago. And so I've about 10 pounds in comparison to where I was last year, but I have more muscle mass. So goal number one is to maintain where I'm at. I don't want to go over 240, and I'd like to stay under 240, but maintain my 16% body fat. I'd like to drop to 14% in the next year. I think that's definitely achievable. I might be lagging a little bit on that goal, but that's my goal. I'm gonna take it slow and steady. I don't want to do anything too fast or risk breaking the good cycle I've been on for almost the last 2 years. That's goal number one, is to stay under 240 and maintain this 14 to 16% body fat goal, so I can continue lifting big
Nice.
weight. Goal number two, and this is kind of cheesy, all right, but goal number two is just to love myself, man. I think what I was saying, a bit of the open, and I think what we've all kind of gotten at, man, is I think I can't speak for anybody else but for me, and I've tried to lose weight like I have in the last 2 years for a very long time. I remember getting back from deployment. I had dropped about 30 or 40 pounds because there wasn't shit to eat in Afghanistan, outside our dining facility. And I mean, hey, we were running missions all the time. So it was really easy to be in that caloric deficit, right? I gained 80% of that weight back within 3 months of being back in the States. So it wasn't sustainable at all. And all I've done, from that period, which would have been 2017 to, about 2 years ago, I was inside my mind, man. I just beat myself up. And I honestly think that the big change that allowed me to stay consistent was just accepting myself, man. I'm changing that dynamic of thinking I was dangling the carrot in front of myself, when really I was just beating myself with a stick and masquerading as the carrot in front of me. The biggest change that needed to happen was a mental one of, it's this can't be for or vanity, right? This can't be, because I want to go to the beach this summer and I'm not going to the beach anyways, right? But it has to be for me. And that has to be the driving force, right? And since that part of my mentality has been able to grow on that with therapy and, a little bit of psychiatry mixed in as well, which not everybody is going to need, but it's what I needed. And I think that's been the biggest change for me of a sustainable, healthier lifestyle. The first thing that you have to really do is just learn how to accept yourself, man. So I'm hoping that over the next year, this is we go through all of our own trials and tribulations, and I'm no stranger to any of that. So for me, I think goal number two is just trek of self-love and acceptance, whether or not I make or miss this goal, you know what I mean, that we set next year.
Yes.
I'm not starting back from square zero. One, if you miss the goal, that's okay. Yep. Just go back to the drawing board and what can I change to make this, habit sustainable? And that's all it comes down to. A little bit of a ramble there, but those are my goals. Thank you for the floor, everybody. I appreciate you.
bro. I love it. I love that second goal. I feel like it's so important. I feel like it's so easy to get a toxic relationship.
Absolutely, man.
With this
terrible.
situation. Yeah.
Yep.
And it's so easy to get really spun out on it and, angry. Oh, I didn't hit whatever weight I wanted, or, get in on the self-hate, or, I can't do it attitude. And, just being like, it's part, I mean, honestly, man, I think it's part of like, it's that long-term war situation that I'm talking about, right? You need long-term sustainable strategies, and beating the crud out of yourself is not a long-term strategy. It creates it creates mental health issues. So, you might as well just accept that you are where you are. And that's like, maybe that's not cool, but maybe it's okay. And, cause it just is, it's certainly reality. And getting mad about it is not like, hey guys, getting mad does not help you lose weight. So there's no point in getting mad because it's not going to increase your caloric deficit. So you might as well just like realize that you're going to do whatever the next step is. Mom, do you have any goals that you want to share?
I do have goals. I still go to the gym quite often, and my body is failing me in a lot of different areas. So one of my goals is, and my main goal is, to stay fit so that I will not be a burden to my children as I get older. So I want to be able to maintain standing up and walking around. And that is one fitness goal I have. Yes.
Love that.
Well, I appreciate that. I promise you I will help take care of you no matter what the situation. Yeah, I know. I appreciate it though.
Oh.
So, all right. Well, folks, I think that basically wraps it up. Just want to say once again, thank you very much for listening to us chatter on about, less tech related items. I know we're usually a lot more in the tech space, but gosh, I certainly feel like it affects the tech industry, and
it touches all of us, man.
Yeah. If you've been listening to us, then you know that I'm tripping about the amount of like people that aren't in cybersecurity and the amazing job deficit there. And guess what? If people are, not able to sit up straight because they're, because they have issues, or, maybe they've found themselves, like just unable to work, because of like because of problems. I don't really want to go into a lot of detail there, but anything I can help do to bolster the IT and security industry's numbers in any ways, both now and later. I want to do that. I know Sean wasn't here with us tonight. I'm going to reach out to him and holler and see if we can get him to give us a goal also. He just, he's got other stuff going on. That's fine. So thank you for listening to my, post podcast episode ramble, and have a great day, night, whatever. Peace.
See you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.